Good morning, everybody. Is
You
there
gotta press that red button down.
which one is
The
this?
big mic.
Oh, okay.
Push it all the way down. There you go.
Morning, everybody. Oh, that's a loud microphone. I'm going to do a few housekeeping items for us. My name is Bill Nowak. I'm the Executive Director of NY-GEO, and I'm really glad to see each of you here today. I think we've got a great program set up for you, and I really hope you get a lot out of it as much as we're hoping you do. I wanted to start out just by thanking some of our sponsors, and that includes Skidmore College, who donated this incredible facility to us. There is a family on Long Island, the Ives and Noble family, who donated a substantial sum of money, which allowed us to do scholarships for students for this event, and we're excited for that. And we also have sponsorship from Peace Egg Long Island, which is sponsoring the Top Job competition. Also, NY-GEO is a member organization. Many of you are members of it. There are a couple organizations that stepped forward and made substantial donations this year that have allowed us to do our work in addition to the memberships, and that includes Water Furnace and Geo Exchange, the National Geothermal Organization. I wanted to start out just by taking you through your packet. There are a number of items in here. You don't need to be fully conversant with them right now, but we thought we would do a geopalooza hour by hour piece, which essentially gives a little more depth than what we were able to offer on the website originally. You've got a schedule that kind of narrows that down so you can see more quickly what's happening through each day, and I'll take you through that a little more in a minute. One of the main things we're going to be working on after the conference is a couple of legislative items. One would provide a tax credit for geothermal installations, and the other would provide a tax exemption on geothermal jobs. So you've got a bunch of information relative to that. We're going to have more on that in the workshops tomorrow. But the blue one is the tax credit item. And then we've got memos for folks to fill out and either leave with us to get to the legislature or mail into the legislature. And then we also have petitions in support of both of the bills. The yellow sheet is the tax exemption bill. And then moving on further in the packet, we have a letter from Assemblywoman Jaffe. She's the sponsor of the tax exemption bill. She was planning on being here, but because of budget negotiations will not be able to be, so she wrote us a little note. There's also a flyer about a conference that's coming up in April that's supporting this conference. It's one that's done every year about renewable energy. And then lastly, the pink sheet is your evaluation, and we really want to hear from you. Please leave this sheet with us before you leave. Fill it out. Going through the schedule, I just wanted folks to know a little bit about the layout here. All three auditoria are connected to each other. Right next to this is Emerson, which is where the product showcase is going to be, and where tomorrow Jay Egg is going to give a Geothermal 101. And then if you keep going to the right, you kind of go around the circle is Davis, and that's where the contractor track is. Today, the engineering track is going to be in this room. We are really honored to have someone of Jay Egg's stature to come and talk with us in the contractor track. He's going to be talking in 2 workshops today. We've got Ed Lorenz, who is a great trainer who's going to be working with the engineers in this room. In the contractor track, in the middle of the day, we're going to be talking about net zero building, which is going to be a major focus going forward for New York State. And then towards the end of the day, we're going to have something on financing. The way New York State has really made solar happen has been through working private capital into it and really supplying it with a funding stream, and we're looking to have that happening for geothermal as well. There are going to be 3 product showcase presentations in the room next door, which is Emerson. You can see those on your schedule, and please attend. If you're basically free to move from room to room, so make your choices about where you would like to be. The other thing I wanted to mention, and I think we'll talk more about the schedule for tomorrow, early tomorrow, is that the dinner is not in this building. If you go out the back door of this hall and then turn right, you're going to be walking towards Murray Aikens Hall, We're going to have a session between, excuse me, 5:30 or 5 and 6:30, which is going to be a networking, and we'll kind of lead people to the dining hall from here. And with that, I would like to introduce John Franciscino. John is the president of NY-GEO. He's also the president of Long Island GEO, which is an organization that preceded NY-GEO and which helped us form NY-GEO. In addition to which, he's playing a key role at this point. He is in charge of the energy efficiency programs through Lockheed Martin at PSEG, the utility on Long Island. And at this point, utilities are going to be taking a much larger role in moving forward and in dealing with geothermal projects. And PSEG is kind of leading the way with that. And I'll let John, if he wants to go into that during his talk, to go further. But without further ado, I'd like to introduce John Franciscino.
Thank you very much, Bill. Good morning, everybody. Good to see everyone. On the way in, he's like, well, I love this wintry feel out here. This is great coming from Florida. I'm like, well, if you filled up your snowblower about 5 times this year and broke your back snow blowing the snow, I think we're ready for spring, Jay. I don't know about you, but I think everybody in here is ready for spring. I know I am. Well, good morning. Welcome to Skidmore College. Welcome to the New York Geothermal Energy Organization's first big annual conference. We're really excited to be here. Thank you, Bill, for the introduction. I just wanted to say, I think it's been a long year. We had about a year or so ago, we put this together. We put NY-GEO as kind of, we also do LI-GEO down on Long Island. And it's been a great year. We've accomplished so much. I want to thank Bill for his leadership, and you're going to hear from him in a little while. He's going to give you a kind of an update on all the things that NY-GEO is doing. I also wanted to take a moment to thank John. Is John here, John Manning? When he comes back in the room, I'll thank him. But he was really the energy, and everybody probably dealt with him. He's the guy who really put this together. He's got the streaming going. He's got the website going. He's like a one-man marketing team. But he did have a big help from all his the folks on the team, the conference team. So I want to thank them also. Okay, so I wanted to start off by saying, we're really excited to be here. It's great to have so many geothermal experts in the room, designers, engineers, drillers here at Skidmore College for this event. I think, the purpose of this event is really for us to network, try to get people together. There's people from all different parts of the state, all different parts of the country. Hopefully you'll get a chance to network with them. And there's a great learning opportunity here too, from the presentations that Bill just went through. I think there's going to be a lot of great exchanges here. I mean, these folks here, even if they're competitors, they're really not competitors. I mean, we have to build the market. That's what we're trying to do here, right? This is a great market. We know it's we can go through all the taglines and say it's the most energy efficient heating and cooling technology around. Everybody in this room knows that, and everybody in this room spends a lot of time trying to tell people that. But we have to develop the market. And the way to develop the market is really to have good trade allies, good projects, the support of the legislators, and recognition by folks like Diane Berman, who's going to be here tomorrow. I think it's tomorrow, right, or maybe today. She's from the PSC tomorrow. We need to speak with her. We already met with her on several occasions as NY-GEO, and it's nice to see them finally getting a little bit engaged. They're a little hesitant because, as you know, the big challenge from utility, from a regulator perspective is like, hey, we like this geothermal stuff, but we don't like the fact that you use a little bit more kilowatt hours. If you use less kilowatt hours, we kind of like that. That's good. Energy efficiency is always good. Reducing demand is good. But when you use a little bit more kilowatt hours, even if you're using, you could get rid of energy by 100% or 90% even. If you use more kilowatt hours, they're like, well, we got this SBC charge, and the SBC is really to do, energy efficiency. So there's a little probably confusion out there, especially from the regulators and the folks that are kind of making all the rules. And we need everyone to collectively, lobby these folks and continue. It seems like we're getting some momentum. So the folks that you're going to see here over the next couple of days get it, and they're good. And we're going to use them to kind of a sounding board to get to everyone else. But in the meantime, there's folks that say, well, I remember this one geothermal job many years ago at someone's house, and it didn't really work right, and the guy got higher bills, or the system wasn't working, and geothermal just doesn't work. I mean, everybody in this room knows it works. It works real well. Again, most efficient, heating and cooling system around. I don't have to say that enough, but got to get the word out, and to get the word out is our big challenge. Okay. As far as the utility goes, I mean, me as a utility guy, I head up the energy efficiency program for PSEG. About $75 million a year of commercial and residential incentives for things like, air conditioning, lighting, and geothermal. I think this is another a great sell for us. That's a non-traditional sell. When you talk to utility people and you talk to regulators and you talk to government officials, you have to let them know that this is a way for utilities to lower their rates. You kind of wonder and say, how does utilities lower their rates? I mean, I'll compare it to solar. So solar, when I put a big solar array on my roof and I don't have an electric bill anymore, but I'm still connected to the grid, I still have a meter reader coming to my house, I still get the bill every month, even if it says zero or it says negative. And when my power goes out and, a tree comes down and knocks down a pole in my backyard, one of the local utility guys comes out, a bunch of them come out, probably spend the whole day there, probably cost the utility $20,000 to put a new pole up in the backyard. And all those costs are passed on to the people that aren't doing solar, that are paying the bills. So as a utility, you have on Long Island, I'll speak from Long Island, we have about 50% of our bill is fixed cost, and 50% is the variable cost. So the 50% that's the variable cost on Long Island, it's almost all fuel. So if it costs 20 cents a kilowatt hour, about 10 cents of that kilowatt hour is a variable cost. So if we don't sell that kilowatt hour, that additional cost isn't incurred, which is fine. But if we stop selling kilowatt hours, guess what? That other 10 cents a kilowatt hour gets passed along to everyone else who's using the kilowatt hours. So as in our tariff, I guess someone saw this coming and probably had to do with operational reasons too. Most folks don't know it. I don't know if the solar installers know it out there, but the solar limit on Long Island, as per the tariff, and you can read that yourself if you want, and I just checked it last night because I know I was going to mention it. I want to make sure the number was right. But we have a limit of 3%. Any of our customers. So 3% is about 30,000 customers on Long Island. We have about 1 million customers. So anybody have an idea where we are? We're not at 3% yet, but we are rapidly getting there. We were, I guess, about a year or so ago, we were probably at like 5,000. We just went past 10,000 installations. So, and at the rate that they're going, we'll probably hit the 3% within the next 2 years. So next question I have, and no one's been able to answer it, if anybody has the answer to it, that's good. And here, maybe we could ask the folks at the PSC, what happens when we hit the 3%? I don't know. But the challenge, again, is I think solar is great. It's a great technology. I don't think anybody wants to argue that. But geothermal is even better. It's better for the environment. It's better for utilities. It's better for utility customers. So if I put geothermal at my house, number one, I'm reducing my peak demand in the summertime, which is really, of that 10 cents of variable fixed cost, if you think about the 10 cents of fixed cost, that's the cost for transmission lines, the substations, transformers, all that stuff, and the power plants. All that stuff is kind of out there. So if we need less stuff on a day like today, out in Long Island again, about 1/3 the load of a peak day. So right now on Long Island, 60% of the infrastructure is just sitting there being, someone has to pay for it, right? We're all paying for it. So if you can reduce the peak demand, and that's what our programs do, and I don't know why the rest of the state, I guess the rest of the state's starting to move towards that, but down in LIPA territory, Suffolk County, Nassau County, and the Rockaways, we've always ran the programs over the last 10 years to reduce peak demand because we're not really an investor-owned utility like Con Ed and some of the other utilities around. We're a muni. So whatever it costs us to serve the customers, we just pass it along. And the people on Long Island and the folks at Newsday down there, which is the only Long Island paper, like to put on the front page, hey, the cost of power went up. Well, the cost of serving the customers went up, so the cost went up. We're not getting bonuses. There's no big utility guys and stockholders that are sharing all this great profit. It's really whatever it costs us to serve the customers, that's exactly what we charge. So with geothermal, you're lowering the peak demand, so it's less infrastructure that's needed ultimately, which is the purpose of our programs. That's why we support it for energy efficiency. But another great benefit to the other utility owners, the other utility customers, as well as the utility itself, is that you're selling more kilowatt hours in the wintertime. So that's what we want to do. We're a summer peaking utility. I guess probably a different Might be a different scenario if you're a winter peaking utility. But I think if you're a winter peaking utility, probably you have real cheap electricity and you're looking to lower the peak demand in the winter. And if you have a lot of electric customers that heat their home with electricity because the electricity is so cheap, if they're heating the home with geothermal, they're using a lot less. So to reduce the peak demand, whether you're a winter customer, a winter peaking utility or a summer peaking utility, exactly what we want to do, which lowers the cost to everybody. And you're doing everything great for the environment and all the other stuff that I don't want to bore you guys with because you're so used to probably talking about it at, family events and things like that. And people are running away from you, but this is what we do, right? So you're so excited about it, and I don't even install the stuff, and I'm excited about it. So that's that's the story with the utilities. So I'm hoping that the word gets out with that. I'll do my best on my end to push it through, and every time we go meet with the PSC, I try to make it time my schedule to meet with these folks because for some reason, when it's coming from me, because I'm a utility guy, they listen a little bit as opposed to other folks that they never listen to. But inside the utility, it's tough too. It's tough trying to explain to folks that, hey, when you're kind of, we have like a board of directors meeting every year, and the utility load is going down and down, and selling less and less electricity, and utility people starting to get nervous because they know what that means. They got to raise rates, and once they raise rates, the whole public swarms on them like a pack of piranhas. So we want to make sure that we do what the utility needs right now, and by pushing geothermal, we're actually selling more kilowatt hours as a utility, which is very, very important because as the cost, again, sell less kilowatt hours, price per kilowatt hour goes up. It's pretty easy. We're a monopoly. You guys keep forgetting that. So, if I don't like geothermal company A, I can go to geothermal company B. Maybe I'll get a better price. Maybe the system won't work, but I'll get a better price. With utility, you don't have a choice, right? So we kind of like that. It's good. It's good for job security, but you have to kind of look at it and say, hey, listen, if I lower the cost by doing geothermal to the utility, then the utility is going to charge me less money, or they're not going to go into bankruptcy or do anything else that's going to make everybody's life pretty miserable. So I know Con Ed and all these folks are always saying, hey, we got problems. We have, what do utility people really want to do in their DNA? It can't be helped, just like you guys have geothermal in your DNA. What utility people want to do is just build more stuff. That's the way it's always been since Edison started 100 years ago. It's just building more stuff and bigger transformers and more copper and more steel and more cables and more power plants, just more and more stuff. And that's just what they've done for years and years. Whenever the load got higher and higher, as we became more and more dependent on electricity, just kept building more power plants, and building more infrastructure. But now the time is coming where all of a sudden, costs are still going up. We pay a ton of property taxes on Long Island as a utility. All the other utilities pay property taxes. Cost of labor is going up. Cost of copper is going up. Cost of everything goes up. And all of a sudden, our revenue is starting to come down. So, we can push geothermal as a, I don't know, I guess we can call it a utility rate decreasing technology or something like that. But it's really true. And I think as folks start getting it, that's why I feel really strongly that geothermal is poised to take off. I mean, it's poised to take off for all the other reasons, but it's also poised to take off because I don't see any other solution to the challenge for the utilities where now we're talking about microgrids. Everybody's using less electricity with more efficient lighting. The lighting's a big thing for us. Commercial lighting, like in here, used to be all like T12s and incandescent lights. Now we're doing LEDs, and we're starting to see, a reduction in the amount of electricity that's being used. So I think it's great technology. Again, it's great for so many reasons. Just figured I'd point out one of the reasons that you folks don't typically think of. Let's see. So another great thing when we talk to the regulators, and this you guys are all pretty familiar with, is the fact that we're creating green jobs. And they're really, they're pretty high-paying green jobs too. I don't think there's too many people operating a drilling rig, making minimum wage, right? You're not going to have $1 million drilling rig operating where a guy that just, you just got him off the, off of Starbucks, and now all of a sudden he's operating a drilling rig, going, hey, what does this thing do? And especially the HVAC part of it too. I mean, this is high-paying, high-skilled labor. There's very few laborers making small money here. This is all expensive stuff. Got to be done right. Got to be done quality. It's got to be a quality job. Once that stuff goes in the ground, it's not like the heat pump. If it doesn't work, you just pull it out, put a new one in. That's expensive enough. But if something's wrong with the loop field, you got problems, right? So we want to make sure it's done correctly. I promote monitoring. I think what I'm going to do in my programs is give a little boost for, a little extra rebate money for monitoring, because I think monitoring kind of tells a story. So if you did a bad job and you didn't design the system properly, or it wasn't installed properly, you put a bunch of monitoring on there. You monitor the loop field, you monitor the entering temperature, the leaving temperature, and you can tell right away when something's wrong, right? If you just leave it there and then you come back 6 months later and all of a sudden it's a cold day or a hot day, and you're not getting the right temperature in the room, then you start thinking, well, maybe it's this, maybe it's the heat pump, maybe it's the air distribution system. But if you have monitoring there, I think that tells a story. So I promote all that stuff. And all right. So with that, what I'll do is I'll close. I want to introduce Bill, but I want to thank everyone for attending the event. I wish you all a successful conference. I'm around the next couple days. Please network, and we got the dinner tonight. We're excited about that. We're going to hear Hill talk tonight. We got the Top Job competition, which is sponsored by PSEG Long Island. I hope we got the PSEG Long Island pen. We're a little short on tchotchkes today, so I just grabbed some pens on my way out yesterday. So enjoy the pens, enjoy the conference, and with that, I'll introduce Bill Nowak, who's the Executive Director of NY-GEO. Bill's done a fantastic job in a short year. I don't know where he finds the time, but somehow he fits more than 24 hours in a 24-hour day every day. He does a great job corralling the board and getting a lot of stuff done with the legislators. And with that, I'd like everybody to welcome Bill Nowak. Okay.